Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Krystal, what are we doing today?
Well, we have an ugly new chant that erupted at the president's rally last night we have to talk about. And we've also got a big guest on the show, Congressman Al Green, who's been a leader in the movement to impeach this president. We're going to get his thoughts on all the latest news, all that today on Rising.
Good morning, everybody. So, Krystal, what's on your radar right now?
Well, there's a new rallying cry at Trump rallies. Let's take a listen.
And obviously and importantly, Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Send her back. So that was a rally last night where Trump viciously attacked Representative Ilhan Omar by name, and the crowd responded with a new chant, a revision of sorts of the old lock her up. The new refrain is send her back. Now, I'll be honest with you, I really didn't want to talk about Trump's attacks on the squad anymore. I actually hate this story, and the reason I hate it is because I hate truly having to examine the belching ugliness at the core of Trumpism. You cannot look at the reaction from the right to his attacks on 4 women of color, the cowardice of leaders, the roar of approval from his base, and then isolate the ugliness to the walls of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If I am being honest, I really wanted to just move on. I didn't want to fully look at that ugly in the face because, frankly, it implicates too many people who I genuinely love. Remember, I am from rural America. I still choose to make my home in rural America. I've dedicated years to political organizing in rural America. I'm not some coastal elite who looks down their nose at Trump voters or Trump country. But I cannot ignore send her back. So what can we say here? For me, this is the single most chilling moment of the Trump presidency, not because it reveals the true deplorable nature of his base. On the contrary, what is truly terrifying about this moment is what it reveals about ordinary people, good people even, people who might help you shovel your sidewalk or pick your kids up from school for you. It reminds us that good people can be turned monstrous, and there is nothing more terrifying than ordinary people turned monstrous. In historical context, or even in the American context, this is, of course, a very old and oft-repeated lesson. But I, with the privileged vantage point that's afforded to me by my class and by my race, I'd imagined that maybe we were beyond all that. Maybe this particular generation would not have to relearn this particular lesson from the past. I expect, of course, my Muslim and LGBTQ and African-American friends are somewhat less shocked by this turn of events. History also tells us that this type of dehumanizing and otherizing doesn't end with rally chants. We're long past the point when you can credibly say that you just support Trump's tax cuts or the judges, but you hate the tweets. You either enable send her back or you stand against it. It's really that simple. I talked to a friend from Kentucky this week about all of this going on, and if you saw this friend and you heard his accent, you probably assume he was one of Trump's white working class foot soldiers. And what he said to me came back to me last night. He told me, this knife cuts us all. When they start picking who is American and who's not, don't imagine that you are safe. When they start picking who's a human worthy of dignity and who's not, don't imagine that you are safe. Because in the end, this knife cuts us all. Sagar, I found this moment to be so chilling and scary, the way that this president can move people to say and believe ugly things about their fellow citizens.
I will say, I mean, it's not like the president is the one who led the send her back chant. I think we should be clear on that. Like, it's his supporters who are the ones who said that. And I think,
well,
I
he
think
started,
it's ugly.
obviously, with the tweet.
Well, yeah,
Go back home. I mean, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, he did. But I'm saying the send her, it's not like something that was encouraged. And I think that that should be noted. But I agree with you. It's ugly. I mean, this is a very ugly situation. Somebody's told me to go back where I came from before. I mean, I grew up in rural Texas. Like, I get it.
You're
it's
first
hurtful.
generation immigrant.
It's terrible. I think what it gets to is this deep feeling that Ilhan Omar and the things that she has said are fundamentally at complete odds with what they believe. And that is what they define as America.
Yeah.
And the gulf between those two, look, again, it's bad. It's hurtful. It recalls nativist chants for years and years and years. but we have to, I mean, calling them racist, it's not going to fix it.
It's not
Telling them that they're yokels is not going to fix it.
That's all that is true. The problem is I don't know what does fix it.
I think what could fix it is an acknowledgement from people on the left that what Ilhan Omar has said is deeply problematic, is offensive, is un-American in many categories. No, I mean,
listen,
this is what hardens people.
I agree with you.
This is what hardens people.
I agree with you, but let's also be honest about the fact that before Ilhan Omar had ever said a word, Republican Party in West Virginia had signs basically blaming her for 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that she is a woman of color, a Muslim who wears a hijab, triggers people before she even says a word. And let's also not forget that the president has not just been talking about Ilhan Omar, some of whom's comments I have condemned and others in the party have also condemned.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what we say. He incites groups against one another because it helps him gain political power. And it is a very dangerous and scary thing to play with. This is just one more step in a frightening direction.
I think the president is irresponsible for fanning this flame, but the flame doesn't just come from one side. And that is what I would say, is that the hardening that you see amongst the president and his supporters is the refusal and the coalescence around Ilhan Omar, many of the things that she said, and without widespread condemnation, it causes both sides to hunker down. One side's calling the other side a racist, the other side's calling the other side un-American, and if there's no understanding of the leaders at the top, then we can't have any reconciliation that gets hammered out. Now, is Trump good at this? No, this is not what he does. But
it's the opposite.
If we could get to a level in which on cable television or whatever, one side is not screaming racist and the other side is not screaming un-American, then I think we could actually have an honest discussion about it. But am I optimistic? No.
I don't know how we get there from here. And just one last thought, and then I want to hear your thoughts on the day. And we're going to have more obviously to say about this moment later in the show. Criticizing America is not un-American.
No, not at all.
I mean, this president has been a deep critic. I mean, American carnage, right? Those are his words.
It's about the nature of the criticism.
Well,
that's
it's
what
that
it
they
is
don't agree with her view and they find her to be different and other. I mean, all of that is wrapped together. You can call it racism or not, but the fact that she is a woman of color who is Muslim in faith, that plays into all of this for sure.